start with the traditional holiday COVID comings and goings list.
Traditional holiday COVID. Actually, we do have a couple guys testing that were sick. I know one of them for sure, Simi, has tested positive, but I don't have the information on the other guys.
So one other possibility you're still awaiting?
One other possibility, yes.
Anyone else come off the list today, or?
No.
Would you expect Tristan before the game or no?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, that's all based on making progress. I know he's feeling better.
With someone like Tristan, who's been just like 8, 9 days, I mean, is there a point where even if he tests out, you probably wouldn't activate him for this game because he's been out for so long?
I mean, we kind of went through that with Nashawn. I mean, he was close there, I think, on Saturday. So, but with the testing, I think we were playing noon. There was a noon game that week. So, yeah, we'll just see how that goes. I mean, we're fortunate that we have really good depth there. So we have guys working. So yeah, we'll just take it day by day.
Bosa is back in the building, but he said he's still on COVID protocol.
Well, he's back in the building, so he's been cleared with the testing to be full go. Yeah. He practiced yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you guys wanted to practice yesterday, were you?
How did Tyron handle the rehab work yesterday, and where is he?
Can you say it again? I'm sorry?
How did Tyron Smith handle his rehab?
Tyron's getting better. I know Britt felt really good. He did everything he was supposed to do yesterday, so they're going to try to push it some more today. So, hopefully we take another step there.
What are your
Getting
thoughts?
close. Huh?
What are your thoughts on your Pro Bowl guys?
Oh, it was great. I mean, I think definitely very well represented. I think just like every year, there's probably a guy or two you definitely could have been on the list. I think just from my own personal experience, you see, particularly guys that may, whether it's their first year here or really the first year really having a big year, maybe not be recognized as possibly they could too. So, but yeah, I was very, very happy for the guys, and we contacted them early in the afternoon, and then obviously shared it in the team meeting today. So.
Is Curse one of those guys that you're talking about?
I think he's definitely played at a level. I mean, he's been super impactful for us. I think what he does from a matchup standpoint, week in and week out, has been very impressive.
We don't usually ask you about the punter unless something crazy happens. Just what are your overall thoughts on how Anger's playing?
Well, great point. But Brian, I think I know he was real excited about the news. And just look at the last game. I mean, I thought he was phenomenal in New York. He had a little bit of wind there, but just so consistent. And he can go long. He can place the ball on the time clock. He's got a menu of kicks, punts that's been very, very impressive to see him work on a daily basis and carry it over to Sunday. So he's been a great addition to our team.
Tyron Smith making it again, even though he's missed 4 games and possibly 5 now. Does that just speak to how dominant he still is when he is in the game?
Well, definitely. I mean, I think obviously, you had the fan voting, but, your peers vote on this. So I think it's definitely like anything in this business, when your peers recognize your performance, it goes a long way. So I think it obviously tells you what people in the business think of Tyron.
If you don't have Tyron again, will you still do that little rotation you did in New York this week?
Say it again?
If you don't have Tyron this week, do you still want to do that?
We're working at different combinations. So, but maybe we'll try it on the right side. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Don't tell LC I'm kidding. All right, so.
Mike, when Ty was working in, and it looked like to be like the third series, why is that, if that's the case, why is that a good time?
Well, I think it's just like anything. You do it throughout all 3 units. You have playtime projection, so you're trying to distribute reps as best you can throughout the game of your 48 players. It's a long year, 17 games. We put time into it. We start Tuesday night, coming on the game plan and have a projected 48. So there's usually somewhere around 52, 53 players that are part of that conversation. So so you obviously rep it that way. There's always a young player development component during during the reps distribution, during the week. But then, really Saturday morning is the when we really set it. I have a coordinators meeting at 7 o'clock where 3 coordinators and myself sit down to go through the whole game plan all three phases, and then we talk about play time. So there's always a projection to that, and you try to stay in tune with that. And hey, it's later in the year. Guys want to play more. Our biggest challenge right now is really just we're getting healthy, and everybody wants to play. You can only play at 11 guys at a time. So, and I just think there's a big picture view to that, and obviously last week with going into a rotation, I think it was at some point you got to get the second guy in there and get him going, and then then we had a plan to do it accordingly as the game went on.
You talk a lot about the importance of complementary football. I know Pro Bowls aren't the be-all, end-all, but you had 2 on offense, 2 on defense, and 1 on special teams. How does that speak to the way y'all have tried to develop this roster?
Well, and I think also if you look at the alternates too, because I mean, that, to me, that's all part of it. Even talking with Jerry, I thought it was interesting on his view. He's always recognized everybody. Just not just the guys that make the initial first team, but he's always felt that it's important to recognize all the alternate guys, because the fact of the matter, they're part of that conversation. You don't know if it's 1 vote, 2 votes, or whatever how it went down. So, but I think and that's where where I'm obviously very prideful in the fact that we had so many guys, because I think it's a reflection of a football team that has players through all 3 units. I mean, we had 3 special teams players recognized with that total too. So and that's what you're after. And then you need them in these division games, you need them in these December wins. So and that's going back to the playtime conversation too. I mean, we need everybody, and that's the way we've approached this from day one.
Who are the alternates?
We haven't ever given out the alternate.
Oh, really?
Maybe it's the new time.
Why not?
Hey, we've changed it up in here a bunch.
He brought it up.
Say who they were.
How has Josh Ball developed in weight room and meetings leading up to this point when I'm practicing?
Yeah, I really like what Josh Ball's done, particularly in the weight room and so forth. So I know he's definitely excited today to be out there in the padded practice. So it'll be fun. I mean, we've done a lot of rehab work with him and done some extra drills, with him on the side. Both Neville, when he was coming back, there's a lot of individual rehab work that those guys went through. So it'll be good to see him out there.
Not that you'd ever say when you're looking at a guy, well, his brother's a really good player in the league, this guy will be really good, but in going against Stephen Diggs the way he did for years, when you looked at Trayvon, was there anything about the family history at all that you looked at?
Definitely, and I'll just I'll go back to Ted Thompson. I mean, I'll just use Clay Matthews as an example. I mean, you always look at bloodlines. It's part of the conversation. It's part of the evaluation. I think it's just like anything. I mean, we all come from somewhere, and definitely all come from someone. So I think it's definitely part of that conversation.
Is it bloodlines, or is it the sheer talent, or is it knowing you kind of grew up in that mentality and that approach to the game, or it was a big part of?
Well, I think it's both. I mean, I think it's important. I think it's important to know where they come from, their experiences, and I mean, it really tells you, what is their ceiling, what is their floor, and it's not just the physical, ceiling and floor you're talking about too. So I think it's important to always evaluate in all 3 realms. The physical, the mental, and the emotional.
Is part of it knowing how to be a pro a little bit in that too, that he can call the brother and say, hey, help me out here?
Yeah, definitely. I think guys that have the experience, you could tell, and I'll just stay with Clay Matthews because I was a young head coach. I remember when he was drafted, he sat in the front row, the first seat, and I think there's little things like that I think if you have an older brother or a father, or you grew up in the business, or you were around the business, that a lot of those little things may be already part of your routine, and I think it definitely pays dividends and helps the guy have the best opportunity possible, to definitely take advantage of his opportunity.
Is Trayvon like that?
Yeah, Trayvon's been. Yeah, you can see Trayvon's definitely grown up. You can see the impact that Stephon has on him, definitely. And I think it's definitely served him well.
He got his hands on a lot of balls last year, Trayvon, but didn't get it. Did that frustrate him, or how did he handle that, or how did he roll that into this season? Do you see any progression?
To me, I think that's a normal. That's the normal migration of a takeaway. I mean, we don't just keep track of the takeaways; we keep track of the takeaway opportunities. Because it's just like anything. It's the more opportunities you have at accomplishing a certain act, obviously the more opportunities you have and the better you'll be. So I think it's just really part of the you have to get there first. You got to be in position first to get your hands on it, because obviously his ball skills, his hand-eye coordination is as high as anybody I've ever worked with, definitely in the secondary. So I think the fact that, making the transition to the league, and getting yourself in position and understanding, that's always the first step.
So that was your message to him last year, basically. It's like you're getting there.
Well, that's the message to the team. That's just way, like I said, we track it. It's a weekly. It's part of our evaluation. It comes out of the practices, and because if you got 2 takeaways in the game, but you have 0 takeaway opportunities after that, you're fortunate. So I think like this past week we had 4, but I think we had another 7 or 8 that we felt there was an opportunity. So when I think the opportunity evaluation is as important as the actual result, because you have to get yourself in position first.
Do you have a general percentage going into a game on just what the range is on what you would like, just opportunities, and then you kind of go from there?
As many as possible. No, I can't give you you're looking for percentage like a stat? No, yeah.
Corey Clement here on the injury report with a toe. Is that from practice or from the game?
I would say coming out of the game, it's something that's probably been bothering him, but clearly out of the game. Our practice yesterday was a jog through type practice. So
Marcus was saying that the winner of the wager between the offense and defense, the group gets a trip. Are the coaches involved in on this thing, or?
I don't know anything about wagers, so it's good. The players, it's group camaraderie is awesome. That's all I can tell you.
I know you guys started going up in tournaments in the last season, but the start rise this year, have you been around a team that had such a rise, and is just the amount of you guys drilling it more, or is it just the player? What's been the difference, you would think?
I think it's a combination of all those things. I think, obviously, I think it's part of the evaluation process. I think that you look at the guys, particularly in the secondary, that we've acquired and the opportunities. That was clearly a huge focus coming out of last year's player evaluation. We need we need more ball skill ability, particularly in our defensive perimeter, and I think these guys have knocked it out of the park. We do drill it. I know we drill it significantly more than my past experiences. I felt it was something clearly early in training camp last year that was an eye opener that we needed to definitely improve in that area, and I think we have been steady in our improvement since then.
So you drill it more than you did when you were in Green Bay? Because of the nature of this team, or?
What's that?
Because of this team, or?
Because where I felt we were at last year, yeah.
How many 70-degree days did you have December 23rd or whatever today is in Green Bay?
Well, I'm just trying to think. Well, maybe New Orleans. When I worked in New Orleans, but yeah, this is. To think your kids may be swimming on Christmas Day is pretty cool. So.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. All right.
You'll hear him, but not see it.